Last weekend's Battle Hardened in Bologna was a much-needed breath of fresh air. While other large events as of late have been walls of ice across the top 8, Bologna's top 8 was 7 different heroes. On top of that, there was some legit spice in some of the deck lists. In today's quick video, I'm recapping some of the cool includes that I saw from the lists of that event. While there's little doubt we're still very much in an ice-dominated global meta, I think there's some legit takeaways from this for our locals. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. I hope your weekend is going well. There's been a lot of competitive stuff tracking as of late, and as I mentioned, Battle Hardened Bologna was a breath of fresh air as the results were coming in last weekend. Everyone, I think, was expecting the continued ice wall meta, and yeah, seeing 7 different heroes in the top 8 from that event was pretty awesome. So I do want to give a shout out to the recap of this. I did think it was funny. Maybe it was a mistake to think that the old Mad couldn't reach the top after being hit hard by the Winter's Whale ban. I don't think anybody thought that. I don't think anybody thought that at all. But yes, so Oldhim did go undefeated in Swiss, which was pretty impressive. But yeah, moving over to the top 8. Again, this is all from Fab TCG. You can go see it all yourself with links to the actual deck list. But we did have a Bravo end up taking it down, Luca Kramaric. So congrats there. Second place was the Oldhim, right? So Guardian final. Then third place tie, we had Alex Chitu on Viserai as well as Long Dao on Lexi. And then fifth place, we had both the Icelanders, Dromai, and the Fi, and I believe Alberto de Blasi. I believe this is the top placing Fi deck thus far after the Belittle ban, which it does seem that the Belittle ban potentially hurt Fi worse than the ice bans hurt the ice heroes, but it's still early. So, like I mentioned, there was some cool tech out of some of these lists. I'm only going to go through a few of these lists just to point out kind of some cool stuff I saw. And the first one I saw was both in Alberto de Blasi's Fi deck as well as Luca Kramaric's winning Bravo list. They were both running Smashing Good Time, which I think is pretty cool. Clearly we didn't see Dash in the top 8, and Dash's absence is still a little interesting considering I think most people agreed, at least early, that she got kind of the most out of Dynasty. But you know what? There's tech, and then there's the meta. So fair enough. But yeah, I thought that teching for the Dash expectations, because again, they're knowing it's a Battle Hardened, so it's kind of a local meta, not really, because people travel, especially when you're in Europe like that. It's a lot easier to travel. But I did think that was a cool tech include, and I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of a neat card, right? It's basically the Plunder Run thing to a certain extent, right? Where if you play it, you get to play +3, and it still does its thing regardless. And being able to, if you're Bravo, especially being able to dominate that and be sure that you could blow up an induction chamber or something is pretty hot. So I really, really like that in Bravo. I thought it was kind of cheeky to have that in Fi. But again, like the Plunder Run thing, it kind of makes sense, right? If you're trying to tech for it and they think they're going to race you, let's go for it, right? I think it's a pretty cool little include. All right, moving on to Luca's deck for the not the Oldhim, the Bravo. He was overall, this is a pretty standard deck. You can see from the deck that he's running the Showtimes, he's running the try and tutor the Pulverize package early to try and maximize chances to do that. But it's a pretty traditional Bravo list, again, with a couple of the includes. One thing that's notably missing is Remembrance. I think a lot of people like to play that to bring back their big cards, so it's missing that. But it is playing the Lunging Press move, so we also saw that in Battle Hardened Portland. Alex's deck he was running at least one of those. I'm not at least one, maybe two, which was pretty awesome little include. Lunging Press is really cool little include in Bravo, because a lot of times people block exactly the crush. You can go over the top. Again, having things in Arsenal that people think are pummels is always a really, really strong move, regardless if it's a pummel or not, right? Sigil Assault will do the same thing. So very, very cool there. I'm going to be running a very similar deck this weekend and seeing if I can make it work. Obviously, it's not a complete net deck doing my thing, but be very cool to see how it works. The next thing I thought was cool, so this is Alberto de Blasi's Fi deck. And, this is obviously a post-Belittle Fi deck, so I was very interested to see what the includes would be here. So he does have stuff like, as you would expect, Flame Call kind of popping in. Some people were running that anyway. I think that's a natural include. One thing I thought was super cool in here, you can see it down kind of towards the middle on the red, is Ride the Tailwind. And why that's awesome. So it's red, Ride the Tailwind, which, to be honest, I think the blue and the yellow have seen the most play, not in Fi, obviously, in Benji, right? People would play that in Benji because it's great. They can't block it, gives the next one goes. But running the red here, right, it's not a Draconic. But if you can give Assault the Wound, or, there's a lot of twos. There's a lot of twos that don't have, there's a lot of twos that are your finishers that are big threats. And if you could give them go again, it's pretty crazy, right? Lava Burst, Assault the Wound, name a few. And even some of the blues, right? So he's running Soul Bead, which I run. He's also running Fluster Fist, just options like that available. I thought that was a really, really cool. So Alberto, huge shout out. I really, really like that include. I'm not saying he's the first one that ever thought of it, but he's the first one that did well with it. So I think he gets the credit. And well done, sir. Well done. That's really, really, really cool include. I really like that. And then last is, so there's no specific tech in Alex Chitu's Viserai deck. There kind of is, but there's one card, and it's kind of a funky card, and that's Pummel, right? You can see it in the red pitch. So this is a pretty standard, I don't know if you want to say vanilla Viserai list, because there's a lot of little techie moves. As we've learned from watching Billy play, or I've learned from watching Billy play, there's a lot of little tech moves that can really change the deck overall. But I really think it's interesting just to look at this, and it's like, hey, this is kind of like a standard Viserai, good stuff Viserai list with Mauve and Shrills, and right, which is very, very good. And the Pummel, I think, is interesting. I don't think including Pummel is surprising. I think including 3 of them is. That said, he may or may not be running all 3 Pummels in every match, right? It may depend on what he needs to do. But this is very interesting to me that, we haven't seen Viserai doing all that well, primarily because of Icelander. And it's very interesting to see this deck do as well as it did. Third place, getting knocked out in the semis, is very strong. There's no secret that Runeblades are good. There's no secret that Viserai is, when he gets going, and it's tough to stop him. It's just a matter of him cutting through Icelander. So well done, Alex. Well done to get it to where you did. And I really think this is a cool. I really think this is a cool list because it's just good stuff list. All right, I very much like that. And the Pummel, some spicy stuff there. So anyway, those are the big takeaways I had from the event. I just thought there was some cool learning. The Ride the Tailwind thing is, I'm going to try that and see how that works. On paper, that is crazy, crazy good. It not being Draconic is a thing, but I guess in theory, if you can potentially threaten Assault into lava or something like that, right? You fall. One of the challenges with it not being Draconic is getting to that 4th link for Lava Burst. But I guess if you're playing that, right, because you'd have something and then Searing, but that's the thing, is you may not be able to. So I think that's interesting because you want to be able to pull the Phoenix Flame is what I'm saying, right? And having a blue for that. So definitely probably from Arsenal or something. So I think that's very cool. I'm going to try that and see if I can make it work because that's very, very cool. And then the Lunging Press in Bravo. I like that. I think it's a great include. So anyway, that'll do it for today. Just a little fun one. I thought that this was really great that we saw some variety, and out of that variety, we saw some tech in the lists. So I wanted to talk about it, and yeah, that'll pretty much do it. So let me know what you're thinking. Have you tried any of these pieces of tech in yours? Lunging Press and Bravo I know is becoming more popular. But let me know if you've tried any tech or anything different, and if you've tried Pummel in your Viserai list. So anyway, thanks for joining me today, folks. If nothing else, go Commando.